You don't need to come knocking on my door in the morning. If I'm here by 7:30, I'll do the class, which I do 90% of the time.
I was asked.
Sorry?
I was asked to.
Yeah, I thought that.
No, sir. Sure.
Nama Shreshtam Manumapi Sakshiputram Atra Swarupam Rupam Tasya Krajam Uruparim Maturim Gostavatim Radhakundam Girivaram Aho Radhika Madhavasam Prapto Yasya Pradita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi. Reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Antya-lila, chapter 2. Jai Shri Gurudev Ki Jai. Antya-lila, chapter 2. Where are we then? No.
Yeah, I wrote it down yesterday.
It's not 70. Satchiramandire ara nityanandanartane Shivase kirtane ara raghava bhavane E charitane prabhuda sara avirbhava Prema Krishna haya prabhuda sahaja svabhava. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always appeared in 4 places: in the household temple of Mother Sachi, in the places where Sri Nityananda Prabhu danced, in the house of Srivas Pandit during congregational chanting, and in the house of Raghava Pandit. He appeared because of his attraction to the love of his devotees. That is his natural characteristic. 34.
Yeah, sorry. It's written.
Yes.
34.
So Mahaprabhu is appearing in specific places due to the underlying pull or attraction of the love of his devotees. Krishna, operating on the principle of Krishna, is controlled by the love of his devotees. Krishna trades in the currency of love, nothing else. Otherwise, Krishna is impartial, completely independent, svatantra, and impartial, which means there's nothing anyone can possess that can influence Krishna towards favoritism in any way, except love, except bhakti. Snehalesha pekamatra Sri Krishna svikara Snehavasha hanakari svatantra achara. So Mahaprabhu is independent, svatantra, except for sneha, affection. Otherwise completely independent. There's many verses that describe this concept of Mahaprabhu or Krishna being controlled by the love of his devotees. Not by anything else, only that. Gane prayasa mudapasya namanta eva. That verse. Ye prayaso jitachitopyasi taistrilokyam. Even though the described here as the Lord of the 3 worlds, Trilokyam, still coming under the control of the devotee. That the line Fridvag Vapubiya Vidada, no. Stane stita Shrutikatam Tanu Van Mano Bhir. Tanu Van Mano Bhir. Body, words, mind, So the devotee will worship the Lord with his body, words and mind, and the Lord will come to serve the devotee with his body, words and mind. So it's been translated or interpreted both ways. This verse is famous because it was given that interpretive treatment by Sanatana Goswami in Sanatana Goswami's Dasa Tipani, which is his commentary on the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. So even though the Lord, he occupies position of the Lord of the three worlds, comes to serve the devotee with mind, words and body, just as the devotee is doing the same. There's many verses. There's also Aham Bhakta Paradhino Hyasvatantra. Again we have this term, Svatantra, which means independent, not under the influence of anyone, not obliged, under no obligation. Hyasvatantra ivadvija sarubhya grasta hridayo bhaktir bhakta janapriya. But then comes under the control of those bhaktas who are very dear to him, bhakta janapriya.
But first, the devotees have to show bhakti.
There has to be bhakti, that's the whole point. There's no devotee without bhakti. Bhakta.
He manifests his love only if there is first a love manifested to him.
That's correct, yeah. The initiative has to come from the jiva.
It means otherwise he would not manifest his love.
Otherwise we have free will to do whatever we want to do. Yeah, otherwise he's impartial. He's not going to love. The love is what stimulates, the bhakti is what stimulates the bhakti from Krishna. It's always there to be accessed, but it must be a choice. You could say generally there's always love in terms of there's always the well-being of the infinite number of living beings at heart. The interest, the well-being, the welfare of all living entities is possessed by Krishna. Krishna has that at heart. But also neutrality. So you can have, for instance, the well-being of your children at heart, but you also have to give them their free will to exercise their choices. You can't tell anyone that they have to do this or do that. Particularly in the matter of love, it has to be an independent choice based on volition, personal volition, free will, personal choice, voluntary choice. And when that voluntary choice is made, then the Lord engages with that. Comes under the control, depending on the intensity of the love. Comes under the control of the devotee. That's the peculiar effect of bhakti. It attracts Krishna. And Krishna responds to that according to the mood of the devotee. So the devotee selects the rasa in which they want to serve Krishna. Dasya ras, shakya rasa, shanta, etc. And Krishna responds in that mood. So if someone even sees Krishna in their bhakti as an inferior, then Krishna actually enjoys that more than being seen as the big powerful God who's to be bowed down to and worshipped. He enjoys more the chastisement of his mother, or the familiar joking around of a friendship, than the formal reverential prayers offered from someone who sees them as all-powerful, the controller. Yeah, because of the development of bhakti. The intimacy. The bhakti is more developed. The love is more developed. connection is deeper. This is this is kind of the basic foundational Bhakti theology, Gaudiya Vaishnava Bhakti theology. The development of rasa. It's all about the development of Bhakti and rasa. Rupa Goswami describes it that way, that a religious conception, a theological conception, any faith, can be measured by its development of rasa, the intensity of its rasa. And that development of rasa brings a concomitant development of what the devotee and Krishna are prepared to sacrifice. So another way it can be measured is by the level and the intensity of the sacrifice that any practitioner is engaged in. The extent to which they're giving themselves. If they're not giving themselves much, then their religious process is quite weak. And that is the main problem with religion today, is that people are simply using it as a method to assuage, satisfy their conscience. I'm a Christian, I've been forgiven for my sins, I can live a guilt-free life. Not do whatever I want, but live a kind of a moral life, and that's it. That's all I need to do. And really, essentially, there's no giving of oneself. One is going about one's life, pursuing their selfish interests. But they have this insurance so religion is simply serving as a psychological insurance for them to feel comfortable doing what they want. Whereas a real connection with God involves a total, wholesale giving of oneself. And it comes naturally, because if there is love blossoming, bubbling in the heart, then that's what one wants to do. It's not that one has a relationship with someone just as an insurance mechanism, like a psychological trick, psychological gimmick to make one feel that they have nothing to worry about in the grand scheme of things. And in the grand scheme of things, no one has anything to worry about. They'll get what is due to them. But it's natural in this world to have fear, because we don't know what lies beyond death. If we don't have faith in a supremely benevolent higher power, then we're looking for something to make us feel secure and safe. And there's a tendency to cheat as well. So you want to cheat in that regard. You don't really want to make so much sacrifice, so much self-giving. You don't want to make an attempt to disentangle yourself from the external pulls or the attempt to find enjoyment in this world. But at the same time, you want a connection with the eternal world. So you want to trade in temporary things, but profit in permanent things. And some people try and cheat. This is typical. I don't know much about Islam theology, but in Christian theology, it's what a lot of people do. They say, I love God. I was looking at this guy's account as a popular black English fellow, religious, popular social media figure. And he says, I love God. But if you look at his lifestyle, there's not much God in there. God is there in name only. And God is there on Sunday when he doesn't use social media. Perhaps has a more of a contemplative Sunday, which is not really talked about. What is talked about is social themes, relationship themes. You might say productive, interesting. Money-making, family life. These things are okay, but they are all attempts of various qualities, maybe Raja Sattva Gun, to, again, find some kind of enjoyment, some kind of soul satisfaction in this world. And God is used there. God is used to take care of the next world. Like, the God is not actually so prominent in your current condition. He's just there because he's got a heaven that you go to in the next world. So for someone to say, oh, I love God. Really? You love God? If you love something, then that is where your energy, your attention, your time, everything that you are, the resources at your disposal are all harnessed and focused on your direction of love. So it's pretty easy to see if someone is trying to cultivate religion, is a reconnect, religio, to reconnect with some divine source, or whether they're just giving it some kind of token appreciation. And their actual love is going towards other things. Religion can be religio. I mean, if you look at the Latin, ligio is like a ligament which connects a muscle to a bone. So to connect something, to reconnect with our divine nature, reconnect with God, divinity. Yeah. So anyway, the original point is that God, although giving people free will to choose whatever fortune or lack of fortune they wish to generate for themselves, whatever destination, conditions, circumstances in life, a myriad of various conditions and experiences, unlimited, good and bad, on a scale of, on a you say, very extensive and diverse scale, from as the saying goes, one can't conceive of the good fortune that they can create for themselves. But also its opposite, difficulties, conditions, miseries. That is also quite deep too. So, based on our actions, our choices, there is a scale of destinations and conditions and experiences that one can find themselves in. And, I was going to make the point that religion can be confused with living a sattvic life. Of course, a real religion, true faith and connection with God is generally supported in sattva gun by living a sattvic life. But living a sattvic life or dharmic life is not in itself a connection with God. It is creating a favorable premise for that, but it is not that in itself. I think a lot of Christians today, just to finish up that point, a lot of Christians today, they conflate the two. They conflate living a moral life and having faith in God with an actual deeper activation of a deeper pursuit of the deeper pursuit of connecting with the divine. You live a sattvic life, a dharmic life, you don't lie, you don't steal. Then they conflate that with loving God. Sattva gun is still a quality of the Mayak environment. Sattva gun is not Swarup Shakti, it is still Maya Shakti. I mean, it's infinitely better than being an atheistic hedonist, a lot better than that. But at the same time, if one is considering that they are living at a standard from which they don't need to improve, i.e. they've already achieved the ultimate connection, they've already living the goal of human life, then the difficulty is that they're going to limit their potential. They're going to live in that way, not knowing that they're not properly, not deeply connecting with God. If one thinks they've reached their potential, then they will not grow, regardless of whether they have further potential to be tapped into or not. If one thinks they know everything, then they can't learn whether they know everything or not. His natural characteristic of his attraction, he appears because of his attraction to the love of his devotees. That is his natural characteristic. Now we talk about Nrsimhananda Brahmachari, who is the other example of maybe it's an avirbhav manifestation. We'll see. Nrsimhanandera age avir bhutahana bhujana karila tahasuna manadiya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared before Nrsimhananda Brahmachari and ate his offerings. Please hear about this with attention. Shivanandera Bhagina Shrikanta Sena Nama Prabhura Kripati Tenho Bada Bhagyavan. Shivananda Sen had a nephew named Shrikanta Sen, who by the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was extremely fortunate. Ekavatsara Tenho Pratama Ekashwara Prabhu Deki Bari Aila Utkanta Antara. 1 year, Shrikanta Sen came along to Jagannath Puri in great eagerness to see the Lord. Mahaprabhu Tare Deke Badakripa Kaila Masadui Tenho Prabhura Nikate Rahila. Seeing Shrikanta Sen, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed causeless mercy upon him. Shrikanta Sen stayed near Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for about 2 months at Jagannath Puri. Tabe Prabhu Tanre Agya Kaila Gode Yaite Bhaktagane Nishidiha Etake Asite. When he was about to return to Bengal, the Lord told him, forbid the devotees of Bengal to come to Jagannath Puri this year. Evatsara tanha ame yaimu apane tahe malimu saba adve tarisane. This year I shall personally go to Bengal and meet all the devotees there, headed by Advaita Acharya. Shivanande kahiha ami eposamase achambite avasya ami yaibatan rapase. Please inform Shivananda saying that this December I shall certainly go to his home. Poshamas. Posh. Pusha. Yeah. Inform Shivananda saying. He was the one that organized the travel of the devotees. Jagarananda hayatahan tenho bhikshadibe sabare kahiha evatsara keha na asibe. Jagarananda is there and he will give me offerings of food. Inform them all that no one should come to Jagannath Puri this year. Shrikanta asiya gode sandesha kahila shuni bhakta gana mane ananda haila. When Shrikanta Sen returned to Bengal and delivered this message, the minds of all the devotees were very pleased. Chalite chila acharya rahila stirahana Shivananda Jagadananda rahi pratyasha kariya. Advaita Acharya was just about to go to Jagannath Puri with the other devotees, but upon hearing this message, he waited. Shivananda Sen and Jagadananda also stayed back, awaiting the arrival of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Poshamase ailadunhe samagri karya sandhya paryantarahe apeksha karya. When the month of Posh arrived, both Jagadananda and Shivananda collected all kinds of paraphernalia for the Lord's reception. Every day They would wait until the evening for the Lord to come. E mata masa gela koshani naila, Jagadananda Shivananda Dukita Haila. As the month passed that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not come, Jagadananda and Shivananda became most unhappy. Achambite Nishramananda Tahani Aila, Dunhe Tanre Mili Tabe Stane Vasaila, Dunhe Duki Deki Tabe Kahe Nishramananda, Tomha Dunha Kare Kene Deki Nirananda. Suddenly Nishramananda arrived, and Jagadananda and Shivananda arranged for him to sit near them. Seeing them both so unhappy, Nishramananda inquired, "Why do I see that you are both despondent?" Tabe Shivananda Tanre Sakala Kahila Ashiba Agyadila Prabhu Kenhe Naila. Then Shivananda told him, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu promised that he would come. Why then has he not arrived? Shuni Brahmachari Kahe Karaha Santoshe Amita Aniba Tanre Tritiya Divase. Hearing this, Nishramananda Brahmachari replied, "Please be satisfied. I assure you that I shall bring him here 3 days from now." Tanhara Prabhava Prema Jani Dui Jani Anime Prabhure Eba Nischaya Kailamane. Shivananda and Jagadananda knew of Nishramananda Brahmachari's influence and love of Godhead. Therefore, they felt assured that he would certainly bring Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Pradumna Brahmachari Tanra Nijanama Nishramananda Tama Tanra Kaila Gaura Dama. His real name was Pradumna Brahmachari. The name Nishramananda had been given by Lord Gaurasundar himself. Dui Dina Dhyana Kare Shivanandere Kahila Panihati Grame Ami Prabhure Anila. After meditating for 2 days, Nishramananda Brahmachari told Shivananda, saying, "I have already brought Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the village known as Panihati." Kale madhyane tenho ashibena tomaragare paka samagri anaha ami bhikshadimu tanre. Tomorrow at noon I will come to your home. Therefore, please bring all kinds of cooking ingredients. I shall personally cook and offer him food. Tabe tanre eta ami anibasatvara nischaya kahilana kitchu sandeha nakara. In this way, I shall bring him very soon. Be assured that I am telling you the truth. Do not be doubtful. Ye chahiye tahakarat hana tatpara atitvaraya kariba pakashuna atapara. Bring all the ingredients very soon, for I want to begin cooking immediately. Please do what I say.
Jagadananda that is mentioned is that one who was very often mad of love for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Yeah, Jagadananda.
Fascinating.
He's a Navadvip childhood friend of Mahaprabhu. He's one of the associates from Navadvip that's known Mahaprabhu for years, growing up. And he has a very intimate relationship. So he's one of the inner, what you call confidential group of devotees of Mahaprabhu, who stayed with him in Puri after growing up with him in Navadvip. And his mood was very tempestuous. So sometimes he would argue with Mahaprabhu, fight with him. In the Gaura Ganadesha Deepika, which is a book by Kavi Karnapura, which talks about the Vrindavan identities of Mahaprabhu's associates. Jagadananda is Satyabhama. Satyabhama is an incarnation of Srimati Radharani. Satyabhama is one of the chief queens of Krishna in Dwarka. And her mood is of a fight. She's a Kshatriya, has a fighting Kshatriya mood. So sometimes if Krishna was going on like a military mission as a king, sometimes he would take her along. For instance, when they went to get I think it was the Parijata tree, to take it, abscond with it from Indra's heaven, then she accompanied him. So there's two moods, positive and negative, passive and assertive. And Satyabhama has an assertive mood, whereas other queens, such as Rukmini, have a passive mood. So that assertive, tempestuous mood is reflected in the nature of Jagadananda, who is Satyabhama and Gauranga-lila. Whereas the more passive, shy mood is in Gadadhar Pandit. Even though he is the personification of Radharani and Chaitanya-lila, still the insides have been removed. The bhav and the feeling. The devotional wealth has kind of been stolen by Mahaprabhu. That's the conception. But he has also been described as connected to Rukmini, not that he is a expansion or representation of Rukmini and Chaitanya-lila, but that there's a similarity of mood. Because Rukmini is passive. Vama and Dakshina. Vama and Dakshina also mean left and right. So, Vama and Dakshina mean left and right, positive and negative. Guru Maharaj talks about this. Guru Maharaj mentions the Vama and the Dakshina, relation to positive and negative, and the moods assumed by Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar Pandit. Relative moods or the comparative moods of the contrasting moods of Jagadananda and Gadadhar Pandit. So Gadadhar Pandit would never chastise Lord Chaitanya, whereas Jagadananda would, and he would throw tantrums, chastise the Lord, etc. But it was all done in a spirit of love. So just as Rukmini and Dwarka would never chastise Krishna, whereas Satyabhama might, the different moods.
Jagadananda would also express his love in an very intense way that it would almost make Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu feel uncomfortable with that. I read something like that.
Yeah, if you can find the quote, we can talk about it.
In the book that Jagadananda himself wrote. What was the book?
Oh, Prem Vilas.
At some point it's mentioned there.
Yeah.
That Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would almost reject him.
Well, yeah, he was cautious of him because his moods were so intense. There's various stories, like he brought a pot of very expensive sandalwood oil to Jagannath Puri from Bengal on one of his visits. And Mahaprabhu rejected it because sandalwood oil was used for various was considered luxury. Be used for massage and other things. So although it was a pot of very high quality, expensive sandalwood oil, Mahaprabhu kind of rejected it, and Jagadananda ends up smashing it on the ground. So with demonstrations like that, yeah, Mahaprabhu was a little cautious because from experience he knew the moods Jagadananda could get into.
Was there any other associated Mahaprabhu who would have the same mood as...
Well, they'd all have individual moods, maybe similar moods. There's also Damodar Pandit. But again, it's different. Damodar Pandit's mood was a little different. He was kind of almost like a sergeant at arms, like a quality control officer. And if he saw anything which he deemed inappropriate, he would point it out and become quite stern, quite authoritarian in correcting that misdemeanor as he perceives it. So, for instance, when Mahaprabhu, there was a orphan boy, a Brahmin boy, and he was an orphan, and he was coming and developing a friendship with Mahaprabhu. But his mother was young, very beautiful, and Damodar Pandit got on Mahaprabhu's case, kind of told him off, because he said, like, look, people are going to see you developing an affectionate relationship with this boy, and they're going to think they're joining the dots and going, oh, this is what he's doing, you know. He's ingratiating himself with the boy's mother. So Damodar Pandit would sometimes chastise or correct Mahaprabhu when others wouldn't venture, wouldn't even conceive of doing so. So that has some similarities with Jagadananda's mood. But Jagadananda's mood was also one of very deep affection. Not that Damodar Pandit didn't have affection, but he was more sort of bold and prepared to try and rectify or kind of even rebuke Mahaprabhu to a certain extent. But Mahaprabhu accepted that because he understood that all of his associates, their underlying motivation was one of affection. But they all had their different moods. But that of Jagadananda Pandit and Damodar Pandit, they are somewhat unique. They are exceptional moods. Not commonly exhibited by Mahaprabhu's associates. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Reading from Revealed Truth by Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev-Goswami Maharaj, in the chapter entitled, the new chapter, no, we read this yesterday, Recognizing Devotion, chapter 17. Oh, maybe we didn't. Question: how can we recognize a guru or Vaishnav? How can we know who we should serve under and take guidance from? Srila Govinda Maharaj, it is very difficult to recognize a Vaishnav. Vaishnava chinite nare devera shakati muikona ehara shishu alpamati. Even the demigods cannot recognize a Vaishnav, so how shall I ever recognize one? It is very difficult to recognize a Vaishnav, but we can have some idea about who Vaishnavas are through the definitions of a Vaishnav given in the scriptures. Vishnur asya devata iti Vaishnava. Someone whose worshipful Lord is Vishnu is a Vaishnav. This is a standard definition. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave a variety of definitions of a Vaishnav. Atayeva yadamukhe eka krishnanam se ta Vaishnava kariha tanharap saman. Someone who has once chanted Krishna's name is a Vaishnav. He should be respected. Krishnanam nirantara yanhara vadane se Vaishnava shreshta vajja tanhara charane. Someone who constantly chants Krishna's name is a great Vaishnav. He should be served. Yanhara darshane mukhe aise Krishnanam tanhara janiha tumi Vaishnava pradan. Someone whose association makes others chant Krishna's name is the greatest Vaishnava. So there's an incident where one of the devotees from Kulinagram, whose name is Satyaraj Khan, he is questioning Mahaprabhu on the definition of a Vaishnava. And these verses aren't all lumped directly in together. Actually, they're in this one's chapter 15, the other's chapter 16. So they're fairly close to each other in Antya-lila, but they weren't asked at the same time. They're presented here pretty much in the same place, close together in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but they weren't asked at the same time. Satyaraj Khan is visiting on consecutive years. He's visiting Jagannath Puri. So he asked Mahaprabhu, like 1 year, what is the definition of a Vaishnava? Mahaprabhu says it's one who chants Krishna's name, even once. And then the next year, he asks him, can you elaborate further? give me a more developed definition. And Mahaprabhu says, well, it's one who is chanting Krishna's name constantly. So Mahaprabhu says, even if one has an appreciation for the name, just to chant it once, then that qualifies them as a Vaishnava. But if they're chanting it all the time, that shows that there's a greater connection, a greater taste that is fueling their chanting. So then it says that's a Vaishnava, gives an enhanced definition. And then the next year, Satyaraj Khan again asks them, can you give me a further, more developed definition? And Mahaprabhu says, yes, a Vaishnava. A higher Vaishnava is one who causes others to chant. Upon association with that person, others chant. Which basically means that their presence is having an uplifting and inspiring influence on others and causing them to take up the bhakti process, to start chanting. So he says that is a higher definition of a devotee.
This is a definition we should give to know how to choose a guru, this last one?
Yeah, it can inform one's choice of how to choose a guru. It can inform that process. Generally, the general principle here is if, the person, the prospective guru, is inspiring one. You go, what is inspiration? You have to be careful that it is actual inspiration and not some temporary psychological, emotional affinity or attraction, which it can be. It can be nuanced and a little complex. People have accepted gurus for less than substantial reasons, we could say. Trivial reasons.
But among the reasons Chaitanya Mahaprabhu presents, the definitions he presents, what should be the one we have to retain? We have to keep on?
Well, he presents 3 definitions which are graded. One is a beginner devotee, one is medium, and one is a more advanced. The different definitions, different gradations of definition. So the top one is that a person who is inspiring others, a person whose company is causing others to take up the bhakti practice. In this particular instance, to chant Hare Krishna. Then they are considered the greatest Vaishnava. Someone whose association makes others chant Krishna's name is the greatest Vaishnava. So if you want to choose a definition out of the 3, then choose the one that's related to the greatest Vaishnava, that defines the greatest Vaishnava. After Prabhupada, Srila Saraswati Thakur travelled throughout all of Vrindavan on parikram, he slapped his forehead and said, I am so unfortunate. I have come to Vrindavan to see the Vaishnavas, but I have not seen one Vaishnava. Why did he say this? How could he say this? Everyone in Vrindavan is a Vaishnava. Everyone there worships Krishna, at least sometimes says Krishna, Krishna. There is some Vaishnavism within everyone there. Though Srila Saraswati Thakur's expression, through it, we can understand that it is necessary to realize that there is a gradation among Vaishnavas. Srila Saraswati Thakur meant that he did not see a pure Vaishnava on his Vrindavan parikram. If we see that someone has any of the qualities of a Vaishnava, then we must consider that he is a Vaishnava and give proper honor to him. We can first consider that anyone who leaves the association of other persons and joins in the association or ashram of the Vaishnavas practicing Krishna consciousness has some Vaishnava quality. And if someone who comes is recognized by Gurudev or an authority as a Vaishnava, then we must consider that he is a Vaishnava. Whether Gurudev says that someone is a qualified Vaishnava, whenever Gurudev says that someone is a qualified Vaishnava, then we must believe that and surrender to that qualified Vaishnava. Srila Guru Maharaj also explained to us other ways of practically understanding who is a Vaishnava. He gave many examples. Someone whom the Vaishnavas are happy to see is a Vaishnava. Someone who is happy to see the Vaishnavas is a Vaishnava. Someone who is happy to serve Vaishnavas is a Vaishnava, and so on. There are many varieties of definitions of a Vaishnava. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev-Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopala Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Giri Hari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra. Adhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Sundar Radha Giridhari Ki Jai, Jai Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev-Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev-Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai, Rupanu Guru Varg Ki Jai, Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Samveda Vaishnav Mandala Ki Jai, Samveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Ki Jai, Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, and Tego Pravanandi Hari Bol.